How the hell did I end up here? Hey folks, it's Indieguy, and today I wanted to remake one of my old and terrible videos out of my free will. Yeah, no demons or other elder gods told me to play this one. So today we have Bionicle the video game, which was one of the last LEGO games to ever come out without it being developed by TT Games. That made LEGO Star Wars and Jesus. Instead, this was developed by Argna, which were the guys behind the first two Star Fox games, and it was published by EA. So yeah, the last episode we had a doozy, and now we have a full stinker. Oh boy.
You do know that you don't need to make videos anymore, right? You met the boss, he told you about the final mission.
Oh yeah, no he didn't. He went off to get cigarettes.
Ha, that's funny, just like your dad.
You fuck. Well, what's the story of the game? Well, it very loosely follows the plotline of the 2002 and 2003 timeline. If you're watching this, you might already know the lore, but for those that don't, it starts off in the paradise island of Matanui that has been terrorized by a being named Makuta and his minions, after having put a literal god, also named Matanui, in a deep slumber. One day, 6 cancers arrive at the shores of the island, containing each one to a warrior whose job is to defeat Makuta and bring peace to the island by using their elemental powers and their great masks. The O2 line sees the two fighting a new threat, the Borok, and transforming into stronger versions of themselves called the Nuva, after falling into a pit of energized cum. While in O3 they fight the Borok Call. And in the same year, the events of the first movie, The Mask of Light, take place. Which was a pretty good movie considering the budget was only around $5 million. But yeah, this is cool and all, but the game conveys this very poorly, making jarring cuts to events that have no explanation. Or when it is given, it's completely wrong. And for a game that was supposed to be a time for a movie, or at least a wider product that included the movie, the events of which are almost never touched on. The Mask of Light only comes into play in the last 2 levels, and how it unfolds was rushed to hell. In all honesty, it's not like I expected something super deep in the lore, but this game would have had so much more potential if they hadn't just rushed certain events. But I guess the key word for this game really is rushed, and that is seen in gameplay. The game itself is a 3D adventure platformer with a simple and boring combat system. Basically, you have an attack button and a block button. That's it. It wouldn't have been such a bad thing if the attacks weren't the same for the 7 fucking characters. And the attacks use elemental power, which you can very easily replenish by holding down the block button. Kinda fucking boring, isn't it? Sure, there are pickups spread throughout the levels that fully replenish both your health and energy, but there could have also been regular pickups like the health ones. Also, later on in the game, you'll be able to make what is called the Nuva Blast with the charge button. Sounds cool, right? Well, bucko, you're dead wrong. This isn't an attack, no. It's a tool used in one level and then never used again. It was a nice idea that was just thrown away, even if it was just a tool. What about the levels then? Are they even any good? Well, there are 8 of them, one for each of the 7 Toa and a second level for Tahu. You know, the red one. Why? Well, because the motherfuckers sold like hotcakes. But to understand the levels, we must first understand that there are 2 rough types. The ones where you take control of the character and get to somewhat explore the environment, of which there are 5 of them. And the second type are the on-rail sections, of which there are only 3 of them. Thank God. These last ones range from okay to boring to just not fun. They are the levels where you could see that the devs didn't put too much thought into. They're just not too enjoyable. The other 5 levels are actually kind of fun. They aren't too exciting and don't let you explore too much, so there are close to no secrets. I'd say only the 1st and 3rd level sort of have them, but to make up for this though, most of the times the levels look gorgeous. It doesn't matter if you're in a volcano, underwater, or in a sprawling jungle, these levels have a great atmosphere that is only heightened by the amazing soundtrack. It's so good in fact that I'm even using it right now, although I do have to say when tracks end it's pretty abrupt, which makes it weird. The highlight of these 5 maps though is Tulila's level. It's a perfect combination of a great atmosphere and a great score. They even throw in some interesting mechanics. This level is good and all, but towards the end, it just gets kinda bad, which brings me... You wanna know what brings these levels down, buckos? Oh damn, where to begin? Well, I guess we'll start with the enemy selection. They are mindless drones that all die really quickly, with the exception of the tanky scorpions. But still, killing them is not any harder. Besides, there are a total of 7 enemy types spread throughout the game, but only 3 are level specific. Yeah, I know, kinda repetitive. Huh, look at that. I guess this classifies as another Sauce Mule moment. The bosses are also pretty weak, and even get recycled at times. Now, at the end of most levels, not just this type, there are bosses, either in the form of a Rakshi or a Borak Horde, but they are super easy. You can even beat the boss in Liwa's level in less than a minute. I legitimately wish I was joking. Look, I get that this is a kid's game and all, but at least make the bosses fun. This is just fucking boring. There's also little replay value, not to mention that you can finish the game in about 2 to 3 hours. But even in terms of collectibles, it's scarce. They do exist in the form of lightstones that can unlock content, like a trailer for the toys and concept art. But the thing is, you don't need to get them all in a level to unlock these rewards. And if you're lucky, you might even get them in your first playthrough. There kinda is a second collectible, which is finding all them a torrent, but most of the times you'll find them all as you proceed through the level. The only time this is a hidden collectible is in Golly's segment, which I think kinda shows that this must have been a more important element in the game that the devs really wanted. Lastly, there are some things that make this game goofy as hell, like the graphics. The graphics themselves don't look awful, they're pretty standard for a PS2 game. But when you start taking a closer look at the character models, shit starts getting goofier real fast. Like, how the fuck did they even manage to do that? And the voice acting, oh boy, it's something else. It ranges from acceptable to hilarious, and sometimes in the same character. Any semblance of impact, which let's face it there was none to begin with, will be robbed by it because there was no direction. And I fucking love it! The sound design team was also most likely drunk when making the cutscenes. From the goofy shit, I think this one is the only one that crosses the line into actually being annoying. But you know what? I still fucking love it. By now, I think I've drilled the idea into your head that this game was just rushed as hell. But in all honesty, I don't have a concrete idea as to why exactly it was rushed to begin with. Now, this isn't a full analysis of this particular problem, and some of the stuff that I'm gonna say is just speculation, but from the interview the devs gave to BZ Power, they had about 2 years to develop the game, starting in 2001, immediately after the cancellation of another Bionicle game. But from another statement devs made, they didn't start the actual development until they were right on top of the deadline, making them scrap most of the interesting things they had planned, which I guess explains these promises they made and the things they showed in E3 2003, like you being able to play as Auditoa pre and post transformation as well as the Toll of Light. In reality, what we got was, well, what I told you already. But by far the funniest promise they made was of an 8 to 10 hour long campaign. Funniest shit ever, bro. But what happened in that last year of development? Argonaut did have other projects in 2003, but the development team was no stranger to pumping out several games a year. Oh. I guess that explains it. They just became bad at making games. Hey, you know what? 40 likes and I'll review this piece of garbage. You know, I have to set impossible goals for shit that I don't want to happen. In the end of the day, is this game unplayable? No, I wouldn't call it that, but it is, as I said, super rushed. I still enjoy playing this game, though with age it became more and more frustrating due to the potential it had. Not to mention it being fucking boring at times. Jesus Christ, how do you make a 2-hour game and still have it be boring? Don't get me wrong, a Bionicle game sounds like an amazing concept, and there are some good ones out there, some licensed, some fan-made, but this was just a wasted opportunity. So with that, I have to give this game a 3 out of 10. If I were to change up this game so that it would at least be a 5 out of 10, I would flesh out certain on-rails levels and of course polish this stirred a tad bit. In all honesty, this game doesn't need much to be at least decent. Alas, as it stands, I can only recommend this game to superfans of Bionicle that either want to relive their childhood or those same superfans that never got to play it. If you remember these bonks fondly and want to read into the lore, this ain't it, chief. There's a literal 9-hour long video waiting for you. But yeah, that's it. See ya. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna look for a certain shapeless elder god.
Looking for me?
Yeah, I have a question or two. Where's my mission? What are my answers?
Remember what you did in Bosnia, Indieguy?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.